Man, Shining Blade, there's a lot to say about that game that I just couldn't put it in a top 10 or something. It needed its own video review. It's a really unique video game with lots of really good looking girls.
Obviously not as good looking as me.
Quistis from Final Fantasy VIII, yeah! Wow, quality voice acting right there. Chaos Wars level of voice acting. Yeah, well, don't listen to that guy, you know. Hey, wait a moment. This is not about your game.
You know I'm the best waifu in the world. Obviously not as good looking as me. 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 Obvious.
Imagine the waifu blade that predates Waifu Blade Chronicles 2. Trust me, this game is more deserving of that title. A unique strategy JRPG that isn't tactics or grid-based, but more like its own thing with some influences. Obviously it's part of the Shining series, but it actually belongs to a small saga of titles. The first one was Shining Tears on the PS2, which is the only one we got. Then there was Shining Wind, also on PS2, exclusive to Japan. An anime was done as a crossover between those two, and later, on the PSP, Japan got Shining Hearts. In fact, Blade here is a direct sequel to Hearts, also on PSP, but that one doesn't have a translation yet. It's sad because it will help us understand some of the main characters, as they do get involved here with a lot of the main story. Fortunately, Blade takes place in a different part of the world, with some story and most characters. However, characters from Shining Tears also join your party in Blade, but I don't feel it's necessary to play that one first. The story follows Reiji, translated as Rage here, a student from the modern world suddenly transported to a medieval fantasy world, but the Dragonia Empire there wants to resurrect the Dark Dragon and it's attacking other nations and villages. Reiji then finds another schoolmate, the mysterious and gorgeous Sakuya, who has become the leader of the Valeria Liberation Army fighting off the Empire. He joins them. Plot is good, interesting, and it doesn't overwhelm you with nonsensical dialogue, believe it or not. However, the translation's a mixed bag. It's very faithful to the Japanese script, which I'm thankful for, but it was done by not very good hackers. Main story is fine despite its grammar mistakes every now and then, but the side quests and bonding scenes were machine translated, and it's freaking terrible. It hurts because in this game you talk to your many allies in the different towns you'll visit to strengthen your bonds. For most characters, bonds serve the purpose of increasing joint attacks in battle. We'll get to that. But for some of the girls, they serve to get your waifu ending. And there are choices, some even costing soul points, that you get from battle. Because of the bad machine translation, it's hard to know which options are the best answers. But fortunately, you can save anywhere in town, so save often before talking to anyone, that's my advice, or use save states, which is faster. Shops are there that sell healing items, materials and accessories. Materials are needed to upgrade weapons called artifacts here. Every character has one by default and you can either upgrade it with money, soul points and materials, or even create another one. However, the new ones are always elemental and focus only on one stat like attack or defense or magic, sacrificing some other stats. You can also upgrade your skills, with characters learning new ones as the game progresses, but those require only soul points. You get those after every battle map. The graphics are beautiful here, especially the character design, done by Tony Taka, one of my favorite JRPG artists of all time. If you notice any screen tearing, it's because I upscaled the game to have 1080p resolution at 60 frames per second, which apparently the relationship between my emulator and my laptop can't handle very well. But that's why the game looks almost as if it was remastered. Anyways, the combat probably reminds you of another IP from Sega called Valkyria Chronicles. Yeah, ever heard of that? Well, I don't think so, it's extremely obscure, no one's heard of it, except me of course. Up to 5 characters can join in these small maps, sometimes there'll be 2 in a row to complete, which is why the game asks you to bring 3 more characters in reserve, even though you can only change party members before you start the next map. That's right, you can't change party members once a map has started. During the player phase, you will have a small amount of points to use as turns, just like in Valkyria Chronicles with the medals. You can use all of them for one character, or preferably one per character. Because there's a penalty for this. Once a character has executed an attack of any kind, regular or skill or magic, they'll enter a fatigue state. You can still use another soul point to have them attack again, but their damage this time will be severely reduced. This is why it's better to use all your characters during the player phase and not just one. All of them have a movement range depending on their class. Obviously mages and archers can attack from afar, but melee attackers need to be close to the enemy, except if they have ranged skills. Regular attacks can be done and you can select multiple enemies if they're nearby, but the damage will be divided. You can also break certain enemy parts, like the bosses for example, but it does nothing substantial. I mean, you think by destroying a part you do way more damage, right? But nope, all you do is prevent the boss from using that part to attack, but they still get 2 or 3 turns during their enemy phase, so it's kinda pointless to be honest. So it's often best to focus your attacks on their main body. Regular attacks cost no points or using items, but every skill needs force bars. These bars are individual and they fill up the more you act or get hit. Some skills may use 2, 3, 4 or even 5 bars, but since the maps are fairly short and both allies and enemies do a lot of damage even with regular attacks, chances are you'll barely use level 4 or 5 skills. If one or more allies are nearby when you do a regular attack, you can select one of them for an extra attack. The bigger your bond with that ally, the more damage they'll do. You can also select the duo option to move 2 characters at the same time, partnering up, which is really helpful for traversing long distances, especially for the mages or archers with a limited movement range. Now, enemies are stationary, but ranged attackers will always fire at you if you're moving within their range, just like in Valkyria Chronicles. And also, there's no permadeath here, and even if the main character dies, like Rage, nothing happens, they just go back and still retain their experience earned at the end of battle. Music is fine, not outstanding, but it does have several themes like the final boss theme that are really memorable. Nevertheless, it's got idle stuff in it. You see, one of the goals of the game is to have some of the girls learn a song, which is done by defeating some major story bosses. Since most bosses have a force field that can only be broken by an idle song, you'll always want to have at least one in your party, and their song plays throughout the entire map unless you cancel them. Okay, it's alright, most songs aren't annoying. You'll be surprised to know that the game's on the easy side of things, and apart from some tough boss fights, you'll rarely see the game over screen. Overall, it's a great JRPG, a bit repetitive since most of the maps are quite short, and in fact, sometimes you won't be able to progress with the main story unless you do one side quest. Only one, thankfully. Combat has its issues, but it's still very fun if you're looking for a strategy RPG that isn't grid-based or tactics-like. It isn't complex or anything, so I feel anybody can get used to it. Hopefully one day we'll get a better translation for this, or a patch fixing the horrendous machine translation. But it's free, so I feel like you can't look a gift horse in the mouth if you catch my drift. Though I also feel most of you will play it for the waifus. After all, the fanservice in this game is something else. Especially for this girl here, I mean wow, they didn't hold back. But anyway, I can't blame you, it's perhaps the best part of this strategy RPG. So why did it never leave Japan? Trust me, it's not because of the sexy girls. I think it's clearly because the Shining series never really did good in the West after the Shining Force 3 fiasco. After all, it was a Saturn exclusive and we only got the first episode out of 3. After that, the developer Camelot Software Planning left Sega and joined Nintendo, losing the rights to the series. As you can imagine, Sega worked on other titles with companies like Mediavision, who developed Shining Blade actually, but they were all commercial failures, like Shining Tears. So, since Tears failed, Sega didn't bother localizing any of the other titles in the saga. As of today, this game is still an exclusive to the PSP. There's a video that I did a long time ago called What the Hell Happened to the Shining series. If you go and watch it, I'll leave it at the end. You'll understand a lot of things about the Shining series as a whole. That's it, Shining Blade, pretty good game, strongly recommended. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!
You know I'm the best waifu in the world.